A CBS News exclusive. David Martin breaks the story. Just hours after the 9/11 attacks, the Pentagon began talking about a, quote, massive U.S. attack against Saddam Hussein. Today, the president started laying the political groundwork for an attack, promising members of Congress he will seek their approval. Security in the skies, or lack of same. U.S. airports insist they cannot meet a year-end deadline for screening all checked baggage for explosives. And the controversy over cashing in on the battle cry of the war on terror.
This is the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather reporting from CBS News headquarters in New York.
Good evening. President Bush is launching a new campaign to win support for a new war against Iraq. He started today with the leaders of Congress, and in the days ahead, he will focus on U.S. allies overseas, the United Nations, and the American public. More about that in a moment. But first tonight, a CBS News exclusive on how it all began, this push by the president for another war with Saddam Hussein. CBS's David Martin has learned the idea of targeting Iraq goes directly back to September 11th, and that the key decision maker was Donald Rumsfeld.
Barely 5 hours after American Airlines Flight 77 plowed into the Pentagon, the Secretary of Defense was telling his aides to start thinking about striking Iraq, even though there was no evidence linking Saddam Hussein to the attacks. That, according to notes taken by an aide who was with Rumsfeld in the National Military Command Center on September 11th. Notes which show exactly where the road to war with Iraq began. At 9:53 a.m., just 15 minutes after the plane had hit the Pentagon, and while Rumsfeld was still outside helping with the injured, the National Security Agency, which monitors communications worldwide, intercepted a phone call from one of bin Laden's operatives in Afghanistan to a phone number in the former Soviet Republic of Georgia. The caller said he had heard good news and that a third target was still to come, an indication he knew another airliner, the one that eventually crashed in Pennsylvania, was at that very moment zeroing in on Washington. It was 12:05 when the director of Central Intelligence told Rumsfeld about the intercepted conversation. Rumsfeld felt it was vague, might not mean something, no good basis for hanging hat. In other words, not clear-cut enough to justify military action against bin Laden. But later that afternoon, the CIA reported the passenger manifest for the hijacked airliners showed 3 of the hijackers were suspected al-Qaeda operatives. One guy is associate of Cole Bomber, the notes say, a reference to the suicide boat attack on the USS Cole in Yemen, which had also been the work of bin Laden. With the intelligence all pointing toward bin Laden, Rumsfeld ordered the military to begin working on strike plans. And at 2:40, the notes quote him as saying he wanted best info fast. Judge whether good enough to hit SH, meaning Saddam Hussein. At the same time, not only UBL, the initials used to identify Osama bin Laden. Now, nearly 1 year later, there is still very little evidence Iraq was involved in the 9/11 attacks. But if these notes are accurate, that didn't matter to Rumsfeld. Go massive, the notes quote him as saying, sweep it all up, things related and not. If the Iraqi dictator now becomes one of the things swept up by the U.S. military, he will have Osama bin Laden to thank for it, because it was his attacks on 9/11 which set in motion the plans to get rid of Saddam. David Martin, CBS News, the Pentagon.
President Bush promised congressional leaders today he will seek the approval of Congress, but not necessarily an outright official declaration of war before ordering any attack on Iraq. Right now, Congress is divided, Republicans as well as Democrats, about a new mass assault on the Iraqis. CBS's John Roberts is at the White House this evening. John?
Dan, President Bush still insists that he has not yet made up his mind on how to deal with Saddam Hussein. But in his first consultations with Congress on Iraq today, he put the political wheels in motion for a possible attack.
At the appropriate time, this administration will go to the Congress to seek approval for necessary to deal with the threat.
A congressional resolution would be similar to one the president's father sought, authorizing the Gulf War 11 years ago. Democrats who met the president and Republican John McCain said today they'd prefer the diplomatic route first.
I believe we are on the track to a regime change in Iraq. Exactly how that's done is not clear to me.
One member of the House Intelligence Committee complained today the president has not presented any compelling evidence for an attack on Iraq.
I am not aware of information that would justify what they're talking about now.
But Mr. Bush is under enormous pressure from hawks in Congress who even today were beating the drums of war.
It's time for the world to tell Saddam Hussein that his regime is over.
And you're saying war is the only option?
As far as I'm concerned, it's the only option, because to do nothing undermines our ability to protect the American people.
With some of America's closest allies openly opposing military action, President Bush will throw down a challenge to the world next week, urging the UN to join together to end what he calls Saddam's cheating ways.
I'm going to call upon the world to recognize that he is stiffing the world. And I will lay out and I will talk about ways to make sure that he fulfills his obligations.
President Bush will discuss some of those options when he meets with British Prime Minister Tony Blair at Camp David this weekend. But there is a growing sense here that the president will seek a tough resolution from the United Nations Security Council, demanding Saddam Hussein submit to disarmament inspections by a date certain or face the consequences. Dan?
John Roberts reporting live from the White House. Thanks. A possible threat against President Bush led to a security alert today and the arrest of a New Hampshire man. 33-year-old Jeffrey Cloutier was seized from his rented car in a residential neighborhood 2 miles from the White House. Inside the car, police say they found a cache of handguns and rifles, more than a dozen in all. The man's intentions are under investigation. Overseas today, Israeli Prime Minister Ariel Sharon said that for the first time in the nearly 2-year-old conflict with the Palestinians, he feels a peace agreement is possible. At the same time, Sharon's government was expelling the brother and sister of a Palestinian militant from their West Bank home, sending them by convoy to the Gaza Strip, where they denounced the unprecedented action. One Palestinian official called Sharon's optimistic statement, quote, nonsense. In South Korea today, 10 young children were stabbed and slashed by a man who attacked them at a church-run kindergarten. One child is reported in critical condition with head wounds. Police say the attacker told them he heard voices telling him to kill. A far happier story in Holland, where a 2-year-old boy who had lived most of his life in a germ-proof plastic bubble was released from his imprisonment today. Gene therapy apparently cured him of his immune deficiency disease. This was the last day of the World Development Summit in Johannesburg, South Africa, where delegates from 190 nations discussed helping poor countries grow while protecting the global environment. But as CBS's Elizabeth Palmer reports, it was a bumpy day for the highest-ranking U.S. official to appear at that meeting.
Secretary of State Colin Powell arrived on the final day of the Earth Summit to reassure delegates that the United States was a champion of sustainable development.
We have unveiled at this conference 4 new signature partnerships in water, energy, agriculture, and forest. These programs will expand access.
But many in this crowd didn't buy it. They accuse Washington of caving into corporate interests, especially the oil lobby, at the expense of global warming and the poor. In spite of the protests, Powell held his ground.
We have shown to all of the summit participants that the United States is committed to sustained development, not just as a rhetorical matter, but with real resources.
Delegates from almost 200 nations agreed this evening on a plan to help the poor and clean up the planet in the coming decades. The main commitments aim to reduce by half the number of people who don't have access to adequate sanitation and clean water, clean up air pollution and promote more responsible use of toxic chemicals, and promote the use of renewable energy to reduce greenhouse gases. But according to many organizations, the agreement is toothless, largely because the United States wouldn't firm up its commitments on when, where, or how much it was going to act.
The international agreements have targets and timetables, and all of those were obstructed by the Bush administration's delegation.
A senior U.S. official responded that targets were not considered the way to go right now. For many delegates, the rather fuzzy plan on sustainable development that the conference produced is a failure. But there's a consensus among others that the real victory is the international debate which began here and which will go on long after the summit is over. Elizabeth Palmer, CBS News, Johannesburg.
On the weather watch, Tropical Storm Edouard is expected to reach land tonight. As it moves closer to the Florida coast, forecasters expect several inches of rain and about 40-mile-an-hour winds. Storm warnings are posted from northern Florida to southern Georgia. Rain showers have begun hitting the beaches in Daytona, but the storm is expected to dissipate before crossing the peninsula and reaching the Gulf of Mexico. In California, a wildfire 50 miles north of Los Angeles burned through the night, destroying several homes and other structures. By this afternoon, the fire had raced through more than 4,000 acres and forced hundreds of people to evacuate the area. Coming up next here on the CBS Evening News, airports say they're not ready to check luggage for explosives. And then later, the death of a young athlete. Could it have been prevented?
In 1935, Foxwood Farms started with one horse and a truck. The horse was a thoroughbred, the truck a Chevy Suburban. Today, they have a few more horses, but there's still only one truck, Chevy Suburban. With an available 8.1-liter Vortec engine, it's capable of towing up to 6 tons, making it the best Suburban yet. Chevy Suburban, like a rock.
Nature made it. Minwax makes it beautiful with rich wood stains and long-lasting protective finishes. Turning a house into a beautiful home is as easy as turning to Minwax.
For all of us who just can't get a break from muscle pain, there's Thermacare, the 8-hour heat wrap. For relieving muscle pain, it's 33% more effective than ibuprofen, the pain reliever in Advil. Thermacare. Feel the difference or your money back.
I am one of the many people
who used to think they're frequent, persistent heartburn.
Just plain old heartburn.
But if you've treated your heartburn, changed your diet, and the pain still comes back 2 or more days a week, it could be from acid reflux disease.
And over time, that acid churning up can wear away the lining of your esophagus.
I didn't know.
I didn't know.
I didn't know.
Today, there's a purple pill called Nexium from the makers of Prilosec. For many people, 1 prescription Nexium a day means complete
24-hour.
Day and night heartburn relief.
And Nexium is also proven to heal erosions in the esophagus caused by acid reflux. Only a doctor can tell if you have this damage. Other serious stomach conditions may still exist. The most common side effects of Nexium and Prilosec are headache, diarrhea, and abdominal pain. Talk to your doctor and call this number for more information and a free trial offer for Nexium.
Relieve the heartburn, heal the damage. It's possible with today's purple pill called Nexium.
Morning, Joe. New haircut?
No. New shoes? No.
Hey, Joe. You been working out?
No.
Hey, Joe. Shave your mustache?
Nope.
You sure that's not a new haircut?
Yes.
Did you just get back from vacation?
No.
Did you get a promotion?
No.
Did I?
No.
No.
What's different? He finally asked his doctor about Viagra. Ready to ask your doctor about Viagra for the first time? Find out if a free sample is right for you. To learn more, visit Viagra.com. Ask your doctor and see the difference.
It now appears almost certain that U.S. government precautions against the bioterror will not include vaccinating the public at large against smallpox. A final decision on this is up to President Bush, but Health Secretary Tommy Thompson is advising that the vaccine be given only to, quote, first responders, up to 500,000 emergency and hospital workers, the teams that would deal with the smallpox outbreak. CBS News continues to investigate and is keeping a close watch on security, or lack of same, at America's airports. CBS's undercover reporting last night showed you how easy it still would be to get a weapon past a screener, despite promises by the Bush administration and Congress to tighten security. Tonight, CBS's Bob Orr reports on another hole in what is supposed to be the airport security net and what could be a delay in closing it.
If terrorists ever again target U.S. aviation, the threat is likely to be centered right in there, in the belly of an airplane. Security experts agree a suitcase bomb presents the greatest risk. Yet 4 months before a year-end deadline requiring that all checked bags be scanned for explosives, most luggage is not being screened. Now the nation's biggest airports warn there's no way to meet the mandate without major disruptions.
We have a very difficult time understanding how that's going to happen at this airport and at the same time not create long lines and really adverse impacts on our customers.
At the Dallas-Fort Worth Airport, Jeff Fagan says there's not enough time, money, or space to install the 60 bomb scanners like this one needed to scan the 55,000 bags checked each day. So screeners instead will use small explosive trace detectors in crowded ticket lobbies to conduct invasive searches for bombs.
The protocol calls for about 60% of the bags to actually be open in some fashion. So that would actually take place right here in front of all the other customers.
Most major U.S. airports face a similar crunch because the Transportation Security Administration is nowhere close to having enough equipment or manpower. To meet the deadline, the TSA needs 1,100 CTX bomb scanners, but only 240 have been installed. 5,600 handheld trace detectors are required. Only 1,200 are now in airports. And 22,000 screeners are needed. Just 175 have been hired.
Right now we're thinking that there will be probably 20 to 30 airports where we will not be able to meet the December 31 deadline.
Transportation Secretary Norm Mineta, who's promised to move passengers through security checkpoints in 10 minutes, concedes hand searches at those airports will cause big delays.
It may take an hour and a half, 2 hours to do it.
That's not the 10 minutes you're shooting
It is
for.
not the 10 minutes.
That's why airports and passenger advocates now are pushing Congress to delay the December 31st bag screening deadline.
I just think it's an impossible dream.
Tom Parsons, who runs bestfares.com, says unless Congress backs off, chaos will rule the airports.
It's going to be an aggravation, long lines. You think we had long lines before? I think you're going to see even longer lines.
Airlines say that's something they simply can't afford. With flights and passengers already down 10% this year, losses could top $5 billion. But until security gaps like inadequate baggage screening are closed, the U.S. aviation industry runs the risk of losing even more. Bob Orr, CBS News, Washington.
Federal prosecutors said today they plan to add more criminal charges in the WorldCom accounting fraud case and may indict more suspects. Today, former WorldCom CFO Scott Sullivan pleaded not guilty to securities fraud. He's free on $10 million bail. After 5 straight losses, stocks closed higher today, a triple-digit gain for the Dow. Next on the CBS Evening News, she collapsed during tackle football practice and died. The risks and warning signs every parent should know.
Counterfeit IDs. Months ago, we showed you how easy they were to get. So what about that crackdown authorities promised? Tomorrow on the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather.
I like to shop every day. When I went on chemo, I was exhausted. I couldn't even make it to Sal's Market.
If you're on chemotherapy and feel tired, you may be anemic. Talk to your doctor about Procrit. For chemotherapy-related anemia in patients with most kinds of cancer, Procrit can help you regain red blood cells, and more red blood cells can mean more strength.
Welcome back, Mrs. Bantini.
Procrit is proven and safe. In studies, only diarrhea and edema occurred more often with Procrit than placebo.
Buying fresh takes a little more energy, but I love it.
It's end of the day, and your dry clean only clothes show it. So just how easy is it to get them clean and fresh? Frankly, pretty darn easy. Dry out, zip it, steam it, hang it. Love it.
Do you know the warning signs of osteoporosis? Unfortunately, there aren't any. That's why I got a bone density test. It's quick and painless.
Ask your doctor about a bone density test and if Fosamax Once Weekly is right for you. Fosamax Once Weekly is for postmenopausal women at risk for or with osteoporosis. It's proven to help reverse bone loss. You should not use Fosamax if you have certain disorders of the esophagus, are unable to stand or sit upright for 30 minutes, have severe kidney disease or low blood calcium. Use with caution if you have stomach or digestive problems. Stop taking Fosamax and tell your doctor if you develop new or worsening heartburn, difficult or painful swallowing, or chest pain, because these may be signs of serious upper digestive problems.
Why wait? Ask your doctor about a bone density test.
Fosamax Once Weekly, proven to help reverse bone loss.
Right now, you can get 50% off all lenses at LensCrafters. 50% off every lens we carry, even featherweights and no-line bifocals. No hidden costs or catches. People should definitely not miss this.
Hurry. LensCrafters offer ends September 7th.
I didn't know about today's
Purple pill called Nexium.
But I spoke to my doctor.
and now I do.
Call this number for more information and a Nexium free trial offer. Nexium, today's purple pill.
Do you know about it?
There are many questions tonight about the death of a young girl in Illinois. Everyone agrees she fell ill during football practice. But what killed her? The answer will provide no solace to her parents, but as Cynthia Bowers reports, it could be vital for other young athletes and their parents.
10-year-old Taylor Davison loved football. She was the only girl on her suburban Chicago team and was making a name for herself when she passed out at practice Friday.
Taylor had experienced some discomfort, had indicated that to her coach, was walking to the sideline, took her helmet off, dropped her helmet, and collapsed.
3 days later, she was dead. The medical examiner says Taylor died from bleeding in the brain, the result of a violent blow to the head. But Friday's practice was non-contact, and the only hard hit her mom can remember happened 3 days before she collapsed and didn't appear to require anything more than aspirin.
She had a headache, but it was nothing that anybody would think out of the ordinary. I mean, kids get headaches all the time.
But it turns out that minor headache may have signaled major problems.
It is likely that something occurred in the day or two prior that set the stage for even a minor shifting injury of the brain that may have just pushed her over the edge.
Though the medical examiner thinks the death was football related, it's impossible to say for sure. But the simple fact that Taylor died doing something hundreds of thousands of other kids do every day is enough to give parents pause. Even in her grief, Taylor's mom doesn't blame the game.
It was a freak thing that happened to her. But as far as football goes, I don't want kids to be afraid to play tackle football. I don't want parents to be afraid to let their kids play tackle football.
But doctors say this tragedy should serve as a wake-up call to parents and players alike to take head injuries seriously. That something as simple as a headache or vomiting after hard contact could mean your child needs medical attention. Something little Taylor Davison didn't get until it was too late. Cynthia Bowers, CBS News, Chicago.
In Norway, one marine life expert's advice to kill Keiko, the killer whale, drew furious reactions today. Keiko, star of the Free Willy movies, has taken up residence in the waters of western Norway and is frolicking in the fjords with adoring children. Whale experts agree Keiko is probably too tame to survive the tough Norwegian winter without help, but offers to feed Keiko all winter are already pouring in. You're getting your news tonight from CBS, and up next is a symbol of American resolve being turned into just another cheap slogan.
In this place, I see a lot of gas. I also see a lot of folks taking medicines that don't fight gas. But Gas-X has the most powerful medicine to relieve gas fast. Nothing I've seen works faster. Gas-X beats the bloat fast.
Realtors help you buy and sell real estate, but helping build communities is what they do best. Like Oralee Brown from California. 15 years ago, she made a promise and kept it.
I told them to just stay in school and I would pay their way to college.
Across the country, realtors are making their communities a better place to live. That includes Charlie Ockler, who volunteers as a basketball coach. Realtors adhere to a code of ethics. It's these values that help them live up to an even higher standard.
With their incredible power, sleek design, and affordable prices, Gateway's new computers are a great value. But now they're a better value than ever, because right now you can get free shipping with the purchase of select Gateway desktops. Call 1-800-GATEWAY for details.
When you manage a restaurant all day, you need a strong hold. That's why I switched to Fix-It Fresh. Ah, that's good. Now I can sip hot soup at lunch and still make it to dinner to greet my favorite customers.
For a strong, long hold, Fix-It and forget it.
new Silverado is here. Silverado, the truck from Chevy.
Did you know Bengay increases blood flow at the site of application? It's scientifically proven to decrease minor arthritis pain, improve flexibility, and increase range of motion. And Ultra Strength Bengay has 3 pain relievers, more than any leading brand. Ultra Strength Bengay.
Heartburn?
Uh-huh. Oh, pick me!
Anything for pressure and bloating?
No.
That's heartburn and gas. I treat it all.
Maalox Max.
Fast heartburn and gas relief.
Now I'm feeling the pressure.
Maalox Max. When you have it all, treat it all.
Protecting your pets. Just like kids, animals need those all-important vaccinations. Tomorrow morning, the shots that'll keep your pet healthy. So wake up to what's happening on The Early Show.
In the days after the 9/11 attacks, America adopted what has become something of a battle cry for the war on terror, a symbol of heroism that emerged from the horror. But now questions are being raised about how this symbol is being used and maybe abused, as CBS's John Blackstone reports.
In the past year, 2 words have emerged as a caption for America's resolve.
Let's roll.
From the ashes of Flight 93 came the story of Todd Beamer. Just before passengers started fighting back, he was on the phone with operator Lisa Jefferson.
And he said, "Okay, let's roll."
We wanted the letters to be bold and to make a statement.
But now, has America's embrace gone too far? Paul Pancucci runs one of dozens of internet businesses selling Let's Roll t-shirts. The U.S. Patent Office has received at least 19 applications to use Let's Roll as part of a trademark. Beamer's widow Lisa has written a book titled Let's Roll. A foundation she's created sells its own line of Let's Roll clothing and is claiming a trademark on the phrase for charity.
But there's also a piece of America that's just a marketing machine too, and wanting to profit off of things like this.
When Florida State adopted Let's Roll as the motto for its football team, Coach Bobby Bowden found himself defending the choice.
Let's roll. Let's go get it, And so I thought it'd be a good tribute to the ones who died.
The Beamer Foundation agreed it is a tribute and is now getting a share of the profits from Let's Roll gear. Still, some on campus remain uneasy.
It's not necessarily something that should be put on a t-shirt and shouted out.
Let's roll! Let's Roll has inspired songwriters.
My fellow Americans, let's roll.
But its political use led Larry Lenza to produce a protest t-shirt.
It was very unfortunate that people had gathered around the words first, and then it was used in a cynical political way.
In my mind, it's a phrase that's gone to the ages. It's become part of what it means to be American.
Anthony Pratkanis, who studies propaganda, says Let's Roll is open to abuse.
It plays on our emotions and gets us aroused and is used unfairly as a way of persuasion.
Let's Roll, a phrase forever linked with September 11th, is now balanced somewhere between the sacred and the trivial. John Blackstone, CBS News, San Francisco.
And that's part of our world. But there's much more ahead, right ahead tonight from CBS News. 60 Minutes 2 looks at one of the most familiar vehicles on the road. It turns out to be one of the most dangerous. Later on 48 Hours.
A 14-year-old girl vanishes, lured here to Greece. It's part of an internet conspiracy. Tonight on 48 Hours.
For the CBS Evening News, Dan Rather reporting. I'll see you again soon on 60 Minutes 2.
For news 24 hours a day, go to cbsnews.com. AOL keyword CBS News.